Check this out. Drone crashes into New Jersey homeowner's backyard as panic over mystery sightings grips state. However, Marvin Awful says a drone crashed. FBI scrambled in New Jersey and found nothing. You know, somebody super chatted, and I want to read that super chat despite it being very early in the show because I think it's important. Aaron S. says, Tim, I believe the drones are some kind of missile defense system and the government is preparing for war.
I mean, I don't know that I believe that. Part of me would think that's a good idea because, you know, if the government can prevent the nuclear missiles from reaching their targets in the United States, I would consider that a positive. I would consider that good.
And so I got to be honest. That makes more sense than anything. Listen, there are many of them are planes, hands down, no question. But not all of them are. Some of the videos clearly show drones. It's possible it's a combination of hobbyists all at once flying these drones. I really doubt it. So if there are many drone sightings, some identified as being as large as SUVs.
That's crazy.
The question is, why can't they identify them and track them? Incorrect. Of course, the United States has the capability to do so. That means, why aren't they telling us?
Yeah.
Considering how long this has gone on, there's no way a foreign adversary launched drones over the U.S. and it continues to this day. That would imply the U.S. government is doing something intentionally and they don't know how to address it to the public.
Right.
In which case, missile defense, missile interception does make sense, but it is, I don't know. Are we preparing for World War III?
They're moving like drones. We haven't seen any of the drones move particularly fast, if I understand correctly. They're moving like at plane speed.
Hovering around.
Yeah, like airplane speeds.
Yeah. And
to intercept a missile, now, I mean, granted, if you have, long enough notice, you could put it into the area, but ICBMs are, they're hypersonic. They're going, multiple times faster because they're going multiple times faster than the speed of sound because the escape velocity of the Earth is 20,000 miles an hour.
I miss the good
old
old days.
To get into, a low orbit, you have to be doing 20,000 miles an hour.
What if it's like the Google car, but it's just they're trying to 3D map everything?
The sky.
Yeah. So that's why it's going to different states now.
That could be.
They would just say it very easily. They'd say, guys, the drone sightings are actually a map project funded by MIT, and it's no big deal. And we forget about it in 2 seconds.
I miss the good old days of the Chinese spy balloon. At least we knew what that was.
That was a weird news cycle where everyone was bored and there was nothing to talk about.
We did shoot it down, though.
Eventually.
Yeah, after it flew over the entire country and ended up on the East Coast.
Yeah, after it got all the information, because it loitered over military bases where we have the ICBMs in the middle of the country, or we have a significant stock of ICBMs. So they literally flew over the areas where we have our missile defense, or not missile defense, but offensive missile capabilities in the mainland, and they just let it sit there and fly over these bases and transmit information back to China, and then they shot it down when it got to the East Coast after it traversed the whole of the country.
But I mean, China's got all our data, right? Like TikTok is a data collection.
I don't know how much of the missile defense stuff, because that stuff was all made and built in the 50s and 60s prior to the everything going online. And if you believe, and I'm not saying that I know for sure, but if you believe a lot of the audits, all the computer systems that run these things are extremely old.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they actually are they're not run on the internet the way that other systems are, because you have to have two dudes in the silo with the keys to turn them. Maybe they're not. Maybe they don't have our missile info.
Let me tell you a story from 12 years ago. I was hanging out in Vegas at DEF CON and Black Hat, hacker conventions. At the Black Hat convention, these two guys did a demonstration of blowing up a fluid pump facility. So that could be gas, water, or any kind of chemical, usually water facilities. And they explained that they would launch a drone. The drone would get within 40 miles of the facility, and the signal would then be able to reach the receiver for the industrial control system, input data, causing it to tricking itself into blowing up. What they would do is, they not exploding, depending on what the substance was, but in this instance, they used water as an example, and they said, these machines have the ability to send fluids in two different directions. So if you're filling a system or draining a system, they would actually send a code that would trick the system into doing one of two things: running the pumps in the same direction towards each other, causing massive pressure until the pipe explodes, disabling the facility, or worse, tricking the thermometer into not regulating the temperature of one of the pressure tanks so that if it gets too hot, it explodes, or if it's a chemical, it's a massive explosion. And I said to these guys, how is it possible that you just fly the drone? I mean, is this sophisticated hacker code? And they're like, no, it's a couple lines. A couple lines of code. And they're like, oh yeah, the operating system for all of these things was written in the 70s. It's like 70s and 80s computer code technology. They're like, yeah, like a little kid would just get it, could code this.
I mean,
heavens help us.
I hope that the intercontinental nuclear ballistic missiles, I hope that they're air gapped, right? And that
Have you heard the stories about how they don't even have the maintenance for these? Like some of these ICBMs haven't been maintained at all.
Yeah,
and they don't know where like the tools are, and they're like, I don't know.
As far as the antiquated technology, it always trips me out. The sound barrier was broken in 1948.
Really?
Chuck Yeager, X-1.
Yeah.
It was in the 40s that we first achieved supersonic flight.
You know,
it's like these planes look so modern. Like if you look at the Blackbird, the SR-71, it looks like it's from like at least the 90s. That thing was developed in the 60s.
This is what blows my mind is that, hanging out with people like Alex Stein, and he's like, he doesn't believe we went to the moon because where's the technology for getting through the Van Allen radiation belt? And I'm like,
the old radiation belt. Yeah.
It could be just that they did not care about the well-being and safety of these individuals, and the shielding wasn't as good as you'd think.
They took one for the team.
Yeah.
But and they did it. The astronauts did say that they saw sparkles.
Yeah.
Because the radiation was blasting them in the face. But more importantly, I'm like, dude, we lose technology all the time. So you mean to tell me that in the 60s, where there's a government office and everything is stored on paper in a box, from then until now, all of that information on how they built that, you believe would have been properly stored by the government and tracked for 5 decades.
Yeah.
For 6 decades.
100% it could go missing.
Yeah, probably not. Because the fact that we already know they can't pass an audit in the federal government, they don't even know where they spent $10 3 months ago. So yeah, if they lost access to certain information, I'd be like, what else is new? It's the government.
Technology's lost like regularly. Look, we don't actually know for sure how they built the periods, and the reason is
the pyramids.
The pyramids?
You said periods.
Did I say the periods?
Yeah.
I meant the I meant the pyramids. I didn't mean the periods. I'm going to leave that one totally alone. We don't know exactly.
Why do women get period?
Okay. We don't know exactly.
We don't know
how they built the pyramids.
Yeah, but we don't know exactly. But we know there's a million ways to have done it.
Yeah. But the technology for a long time was lost.
though.
The ancient alien stuff. It's so.
No, I'm not going there.
I'm not saying
Look,
you are.
I'm not defending the ancient aliens per se, but it's a historical show. They give you a lot of factual stuff. No, like the places and stuff. They're like, this is Karnak. These are a bunch of stones that weigh this many tons.
But
and they inject like, could it be true that? And then they speculate.
Oh yeah.
So I don't believe any of that. But
I just what I really love about all the ancient alien stuff is like. They're like, why are there pyramids all over the world? Could it be that aliens came and taught them how to build it? And I'm just like, or the easiest structure to build is blocks stacked on top of each other, perhaps.
Geometrically, yeah. And Phil, I will say this, like as far as antiquated technology, this one tripped me out. I was trying to get some tapes digitized, right?
Yeah.
They're from the 2000s, and then I realized there's
cassette tapes for all you Gen Z out there.
There wasn't even the camera that I needed. I couldn't even get one. Like it was a really hard deal to get it. And then it hit me like, oh, like artifacts that have no moving parts. Like say you have a Ming Dynasty vase. That's one part. The more parts that you add, the quicker that technology dies. These cameras, like you've got just the weather will kill it in 10 years. I
mean, you go to, I can go to I can go antiquing perhaps. And there will be cassette tape movies, VHS. Yeah. It's substantially easier to find a VHS tape than a VCR.
But doesn't that seem like a strange law of nature that the more advanced your technology gets, the quicker it extinguishes itself?
Now, you want to know the scariest thing about it?
What?
If society were to collapse today and our infrastructure would, let's say like 95% of humans are just like overnight turned to stone by a green flash of light that wipes over the planet. The people who remain would know that's a hard drive. There's movies on it, and I have no idea how to get it. And guess what? Guess what? They would have kids, and they would say, son, look at this. Inside this, our movies, music, and we used to be able to connect into it. And we would see, like looking through a window on we called it a screen, and it would show people and magic. And
You're
that
a crazy person.
No, the kid would be like, wow. Then that kid would tell their kids they used to have these rocks, the drives, they called them. And it would show them pictures and people and stories. And then the kids, 2 generations later, are going to be like, they had these magic stones that they would dance around and it would emit prophecy. And
You ever think about that? Like if you do time travel, you are a god until your iPhone runs out of battery.
Why would you be a god with the iPhone?
Of course you would.
But why?
The internet's not in your phone. You know that? It needs to connect
What?
It needs to connect to the cell phone tower.
I've saved a couple videos on my phone.
Now, if you went back in time to like the 1500s with a laptop and maybe like, you know, you had the cables for solar panels and you could wire them properly, or you could put a generator together if you're a smart enough person. But let's say you get a laptop and you've got batteries with solar chargers, so it's going to last you a little while, and you had like, I don't know, math programs on it.
Ooh,
That's it. No, not a calculator. A calculator would be good, but if you could present advanced mathematics in the 1500s, like today's math, to their mathematicians,
Oh yeah.
that would go, like, they'd probably just, whatever country you chose would start winning every single war.
Yeah, you could accelerate.
And not only that, but could you imagine going back like 2,000 years and being like, guys, let me show you how you take a piece of wood, put some twine around it, pull it, and a stick flies off it. And they're going to go, whoa. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.